Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Muckin N Grindin. Just got home. It was a long day. I got to keep this short and sweet. It's been a long work week. Worked 2 jobs, so it's a little rough on the old man. Pens are 5-2 their last 7 games. Last night, kind of a heartbreaker or a stick breaker, if you want to call it, because it seems the twigs that Letang was using not up to standard, and ended up costing them a couple goals. Looking at the way how tight this division is, it's going to be a fight to the bitter end to make the top 4 to be in the playoffs. Looking at how everybody's on Toronto. Oh, Toronto's fantastic. Toronto's this. Toronto's that. They're playing in the Canadian division where, you have a couple teams like Calgary's on a downside, goaltending suspect for them. Ottawa's rebuilding. Vancouver's been terrible. Winnipeg's middle of the road. You can beat up on those teams, but when they're gonna come to a part where they're gonna end up playing Edmonton a few times in a row, and you're going to see who's the real deal up there in that Canadian division. The Southern division with Carolina and Chicago. Chicago's surprising some people because that division's not exactly, as tough as this Eastern division with Boston, New York, both New York teams, Philly. It's going to be a dogfight all the way through. If the Pens do miss out on the top 4, it may end up being by maybe a point, maybe 2, if that. It looks like it's going to, everybody thought New York, the Rangers were going to be really bad, but they've surprised people. The goaltending's been, sort of solid for them. Keandre Miller's been, fantastic. As I'm watching them play Boston right now, he just took a high stick from his own teammate. It's just nice to see that they've already put it together quickly with a young group of guys. The Artemi Panarin false accusations from back when he was younger, back over in Russia, were just it's terrible that it even cost him a couple games to clear his name and everything like that. It's this day and age with social media has been absolutely frustrating. We're obviously on a social media platform. We try to keep it as, good and lighthearted as possible. Sometimes you get a bad wheel here and there, that little squeaky wheel that, you got to say, hey, guys, we're here for talking sports. You can agree to disagree. Try to keep everything to a minimum of the, the bad name calling and stuff like that. Like, if you have to resort to name calling and stuff like that, grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula. You gotta, be a man, suck it up, deal with it. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. It's okay for somebody to have a different opinion than you. It's okay. You don't have to cancel them out or tell them that they're either a bigot, a racist, or a misogynist, or this, that, and the other thing just because they don't agree with you. If they don't agree with you, that's on them. Have a conversation. Don't, try to cancel them just because they don't like, you don't like something that they agree with. It's, how real people deal with stuff instead of behind a keyboard. It's a lot easier to deal face-to-face or have a good conversation. That way you can get everything out on the table and everything, out in the open. It's a lot more fun that way. You agree to disagree, shake hands, and you keep on moving. As I'm watching this game now, New York just scored, and they have fans in the stands, which is fantastic to see. It may be limited, but I'm waiting for the Penguins to finally, jump onto that bandwagon and start putting, people in the seats. So, they did all this upgrading to, touchless stuff and all this other good stuff like that. What's the point of doing it if you're not going to implement it? Moving forward, the the Pens picked up Friedman, the defenseman from Philadelphia, off of waivers. I have nothing on him right now. I haven't seen anything. You got Dumoulin coming back soon. Ricola is going to be coming back eventually. They're both skating. Dumoulin sooner than Ricola. Not exactly sure you needed to bring in another defenseman unless he's willing to throw the gloves and be a physical presence. But unless there's something else that we're not sure of, maybe a deal in the future or something like that, that's a possibility. See what happens that way wise. There's no real word on the injury to Jason Zucker yet. Did not look good. Sully was asked if he was going to be out the remainder of the regular season. He said, I hope to have him back before then, which doesn't sound very promising. Hopefully, it's just, basic, bone bruises and stuff like that, which, you can actually skate with, stuff like that. But if it's anything broken or structurally unsound, I'd rather him rest up and, be available in the playoffs and not try to rush back. Forward depth, Teddy Blueger's become the offensive juggernaut of this team. It seems like him and Brian Rust. Sid's always going to do Sid things. He's going to get the apples on everything that you have. They do need more scoring. The scoring depth on this team is lacking. Would not be surprised to see Hextall pull the trigger on, a deal somewhere, but most likely it'd be one of the Canadian teams, possibly one of the Southern teams that are, struggling, possibly maybe even a team like Dallas or something like that, considering Dallas could surprise people because they've only played, I think they've played like 8 or 9 games less than everybody else. So you never know what's going to happen in their division. Moving forward, though, it seems like the only 2 teams they play anymore are the Capitals and the Islanders. Eventually, they're going to have, I think, the Buffalo Sabres coming up. Let's take a look here. I want to see what their schedule is actually going forward. I know they have the Islanders tomorrow at 7. And they have the Islanders back-to-back. 7 o'clock on Saturday and 5 o'clock on Sunday. They got Philadelphia Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. They have Philadelphia. Unbelievable. We have Philly, Rangers, Sabres, Bruins, Devils. Finally, we're going to play Bruins and Devils. And the Sabres, it's nice to see we're going to finally play somebody different for a change. Friday nights, which seems for the most part of March, you got Wednesdays and Fridays off for Penguin games, Saturday night games. Moving forward, except the March 6th game against Philadelphia is at 1 o'clock. The rest of them, at Buffalo on the 13th is 7 o'clock. The 20th at New Jersey is 1 o'clock, and then another on the 27th at 7 o'clock. Moving forward, though, in the later stages of March and April and the beginning of May, my shows possibly could be coming later on Friday evenings due to me coaching Northgate softball. I'll be coaching those girls up there. Again, for season 4, there are a few games that I have on Fridays that'll push me back later with work up there on Fridays also, so I'll be a little behind on that. Just giving you a heads up on that now. Scoring-wise for the Pens, let's take a look at the stats for this team, which is kind of Zach Aston Reese was the offensive juggernaut in his first 3 games back. He slowed up a little bit. He's got 4 points on the season. Teddy Blueger has 3 goals, 8 assists, and 11 points. Crosby, 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points. Gensel, 7 goals, 9 assists. Right now, like I said, the lack of scoring is really hurting this team. You need guys to put the puck in the net. It looks to me, power play-wise, they're still trying to find the perfect play. and try to do the perfect pass, which is annoying. Shoot the puck, pass off pads, because look at it as the same thing as a empty net situation where you're tied up at the end of or down by one at the end of the game, and you need to get that goal. Play it like that. Play it the same way. Just fire pucks at the net. I don't understand how these guys have to, play it around with the puck, pass it around here, pass it around. Just shoot the puck. Shoot the puck. Everybody who's ever played hockey has been told, hey, puck luck's a nice thing. You shoot it. You never know what's going to happen. You can get a tip. You can get a redirect. You get a bounce off somebody or the defenseman. You get a bounce off them, and the puck goes in. But the scoring does need to pick up. Right now, Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin are put up a few points because I bitched about them last week. So I guess they must have watched the show, I guess. I doubt it. It'd be nice if they did, but they don't. To hear me complain about them and how their lack of offensive output and Chris Letang's lack of defensive abilities have really hurt this team so far this year. The Gino that we all used to know, who all of a sudden gets a wild burr up his ass and starts playing really hard, we need that Gino back. I understand he's 34 years old, but there's guys like Eric Stahl who are like 40 who still play. There's guys older, Justin Williams was 40 years old. He was still putting up points. I mean, and he wasn't that great of a player, but he still was able to put up points. You just got to find it in that little thing inside your chest that pumps the blood through the rest of your body called heart. You got to find that thing and actually have it. Sometimes these guys become too prima donna and sulk and, whine a little too much. And need to get, back to what got them where they were, is like the joy and the love of playing the game, whether they like the coach, whether they like their line mates, kind of like Sid, who, whines about his line mates all the time and picks and chooses who he plays with, because Perry Kapanen gets benched, a couple games ago because he didn't back check and other stuff. Look, there's times where multiple times a game where you see certain players do not back check, and it's frustrating. But then you see guys like Brandon Tanev or Teddy Bluger who skate their rear end off, and they look fantastic. I mean, the speed from those two guys is just unheard of. But we need to, move on. Need to get some actual scoring depth. Keep the lines. The Bluger, Tanev, Aston Reese line needs to stay together. They can't move Aston Reese up to Gino's line just because Zucker's hurt. Pull one of the guys off the, press box hero and put him on that line. Just do that. Don't move Jankowski up to that line. Move Colton Seaver up there. Sam Lafferty. Let Sam Lafferty play on that line. Dump the puck in. Let him and his speed get into the corner. Muck and grind into the corner and create some, animosity for these other teams. I mean, you got to do something. I mean, because obviously something's not working with this team. I don't know if they're just frustrated. Maybe they're tired of Sullivan's, thing, because that's what happens. These teams get tired of hearing a coach after 4 or 5 years, and then that coach gets shit canned because the players are tired of hearing it and saying, oh, we want somebody else. Well, you know what? The guy's the coach. He gets paid to do it for a reason. Just suck it up, buttercup, and deal with it. I mean, put your ego aside, and you're supposed to be a teammate and play for the team, not for your, I get frustrated with it. But anyways, tomorrow's a full tilt of games on the schedule. There's a couple good games tonight. Like I said, there's earlier in the season, there's games on pretty much every night of the week. NHL Network has them on. NBCSN has had them on. Rumor has it that at the end of this year, when NBCSN drops the NHL, that ESPN will be picking them up. Hopefully they get in connection with the NHL Network and use, their people to help out with that, instead of trying to like the outdoor games that they had in Lake Tahoe. I like Mike Tirico doing football. I do not like him doing hockey. He's not a good hockey commentator. It doesn't translate well for him. He's fantastic at commentating. He is fantastic. He is one of the best. But he is not good at doing hockey. I mean, you got to find, other people that can do it. Boucher is great between the boards. I'd rather listen to Brian Boucher than Pierre Maguire any day, even though Pierre Maguire is a plethora of knowledge and useless knowledge. His brother's cousin's second friend's roommate played for Moose Jaw, and we know Pierre. Thank you, appreciate it. Get back to the point at hand. But yeah, it'd be nice to see a different group of commentators call these games. Hopefully that, because sometimes guys get pilfered from other teams. Like Steve Mears could end up going and doing all the commentary for ESPN if that's what happens. Hopefully he sticks around. But I know he does, he will do probably Olympic games, the secondary games, like for the Olympics. He's done that before. There's a lot of things, and it's all pure speculation right now. Nothing has been set in stone with ESPN taking over those games. But I've heard also the Paramount Network and USA Network, the other affiliates that deal with, NBC on the side for other things, could also pick up those games also. Never know. But I got coaching casualty was Claude Julien the other day with Montreal. Knew that was coming because they've underachieved. I mean, Carey Price has not looked like the Carey Price of old. Sometimes, like you just don't have it. Maybe there's little injuries involved somewhere. Who knows? But that team has underachieved so far, and with the signings that they had in the offseason and stuff like that to bolster their offense, and they haven't done so well. The rest of the league, though, I mean, you have Connor McDavid leading the league with 40 points. He's destroying the league as usual because that division is kind of soft. Half of it's decent, half of it's terrible. Him, Draisaitl, Kane, and Austin Matthews, I think, are 1 through 4 in scoring. They're talking Patrick Kane for MVP, which I find it hard to – I mean, he's playing on a team that's rebuilding, plus he's playing in a soft division, just like Matthews, McDavid, and Draisaitl are also. If it was my choice and I had a vote, I probably would go for Patrick Kane, even though I can't stand him, just for the simple fact that he is playing on a rebuilding team, and they are in a little bit tougher division than the Canadian division. But, hey, I don't have a vote, so my opinion doesn't matter either. So moving on to the second period of the Bruins-Rangers. Rangers are up 1-0 in that game. Other news, notes, nothing really of consequence right now. No trades have come through or anything like that. Just a lot of guys going up and down from taxi squads and stuff like that for COVID reasons. Games have been postponed. Again, there's games that are going to be postponed this weekend. It's kind of a frustrating time. They go by the contact tracing and not by positive testing sometimes, depending on that team's protocols, but the NHL has their own protocols in place. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully the Penguins can keep rolling along. They don't have any problems with that so far. John Marino was the only one who they contact traced back to him being around somebody that was around somebody that had it, and he had to quarantine for a few days. But with all that said and done, we're gonna wrap it up here. The Pens play tomorrow at 7. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll be able to pull out a victory over the Islanders, and then we'll take on the Flyers after that. So All right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon.